My spirit,
yes, God.
people of God, because of the fact that I haven't had but 2 hours of sleep.
My.
But the Lord was just dealing with me so heavily on last night. He dealt with me real heavy on last night, and I was up and daybreak was coming in when I laid down. And as I laid down, I had a visitation, not from the Lord. The enemy came. Yeah, the enemy came. And this spirit came in the room. I heard it when it came in. And I heard the sound of it. And I saw this spirit in it. The spirit was, the mouth is what got me, because the tongue of this spirit was like a snake's tongue. You know how a snake always sticking his tongue in and out. And I heard it and it came in my ear, and the spirit of the Lord immediately began to deal with me about the people being more alert, especially those of you that he's using in this hour to speak words of warning and deliverance to the people. You got to understand that not everybody is wanting to see a move of God in this hour. And so the Lord began to tell me in this season that this is a season really when the Lord's prophets are coming forth. Not the prophets that man have made, that have caused the people to err or to be in a predicament to where they're being attacked and overtaken by the enemy. But he began to deal with me about the prophets as I came out of it and began to talk to the Lord about it. And he began to tell me, he said, you have to warn the prophets in this hour that when they release a word, that they got to cover themselves after the release. And this is why we need people that have watchful eyes in this hour. We need people that understand what's going on in the church when the Lord is moving. Everybody can't be falling out in the spirit.
Come on.
We got to have our watchmen right now. And the Lord began to deal with me about the watchmen, because in this hour we got to understand that we need people that have the ability to see in this hour. And what we're experiencing is not really watchmen that can see in the spirit realm. The Lord began to show me that many of the people are only speaking for what they see from their natural eyes, and they're not really looking. This is why we're missing when people come in our midst with different spirits, because we don't have watchmen that are in tune to the spirit of the Lord and that can hear spiritually, rather than maintaining a place of a natural standpoint where they're governing stuff and they're judging it from their natural eyesight rather than seeing in the spirit realm. And so the Lord began to show me something concerning that, because in this day and hour we got to get people that really understand the glory realm of God. We got to understand that even when God's glory comes in, there's always a counterattack by the enemy in the spirit realm to try to bring confusion. And this is why we need those that have an understanding of what is being done spiritually when we are encountering the presence of the Lord. Everybody that comes in that we see lifting up our hands are not glorifying the Lord. Y'all got to understand, because the Lord began to say you got to be more watchful, even of how people are saying they're praising when they come in our midst. We got to be more watchful, because in this day and hour the Lord began to show me that there would be opposition that's going to come, that's going to oppose the move of God. So those of you that the Lord is moving on in this hour, in this season, to bring the people to a place of understanding the move of God and the glory of God. And he's been dealing with me a lot about the glory of God in this hour, and he's really been dealing with me about it. And I've just been studying Ezekiel, that first chapter, real heavy right now, because Ezekiel saw the glory of God. He saw the glory of God. He saw the many facets of God. He saw the, oh my God, the many manifestations of God's Spirit. And we got to understand that. And as you read Ezekiel, the first chapter, the description he gives even of the angels is kind of scary. That he saw, because he saw these creatures with four faces and different things. And then the Lord began to tell me, he said, sometimes people are seeing things in the spirit and calling it a demon, when it's an illustration of something that I'm trying to show them. Y'all ain't saying nothing. And we have been opposing some things and rebuking some things because we didn't have an understanding of what we were seeing. That's why we got to be careful that even when we have dreams and visions, that we don't get caught up so much in the imagery. I remember one time God was showing me something, and the imagery of what I was seeing would automatically, get my mind to want to attack what I was seeing as if it was a warfare. But what he was showing me was the different things that were taking place. And what was happening in the spirit realm according to him. Because even us as a people, when we even have dreams and visions and we see sometimes winds and tornadoes, we automatically think destruction. And sometimes it's God showing his spirit and what is, y'all ain't saying nothing, and what his spirit is doing. So he began to tell me, my people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. And so in this hour, we're getting ready to really experience a realm of God that gives us understanding. We got to get an understanding. That's why he tells us to get wisdom in this hour. He said this is the hour of wisdom, where the people are going to have the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge of what is really taking place in the spirit realm. We're so busy looking in the natural till we can't see what's really going spiritually.
Oh God.
So he began to talk to me about the watchman.
Oh God.
Look at somebody and and say watchman, watchman.
Watchman, watchman.
We need an understanding of the watchman right now in this hour, because the watchmen in this hour are getting to a point where they can't get an understanding of what's really going on. We got to understand several things, woman of God, that we need to understand when it comes to the watchman. And so he begins to talk to me about, before he even told Ezekiel that he was going to be a watchman, he showed Ezekiel himself. In that first chapter, y'all ain't saying nothing. He showed him himself. He showed him the difference of who he is. Yeah. See, we have to have an understanding in this hour, first off, as to the character of God. Yeah. We don't have an understanding, a full understanding of the character of God, because most of the time when they preach about the Lord, they only preach about what they think will be good.
That's true.
Not realizing that he has many characteristics.
Yeah.
Oh God. And so we're apt to receive the characteristics that make us feel good. But then we don't understand, because the character of God is a character of holiness and righteousness. And if you understand that, then you would understand that he becomes indignant when he begins to see ungodliness and unrighteousness. Many times the people have taken the grace of God, because now that we are preaching the grace message, we're leaving out the part that God still requires standards and that we be set apart. And so they're using the grace message to keep people in bondage to sin, meaning that they never are converted. Because conversion means change.
That's right. That's right.
And so we're not preaching the gospel of conversion.
Yeah.
We're preaching a gospel that cripples the people and keeps them from really understanding that they can live free. And so the Lord begins to deal with me, because now he's saying that their watchman has to come forth now. Because we are experiencing too many attacks in the body of Christ. Some people got upset with what I said concerning dementia and cancer and different things. And the Lord dealt with me about that, because that was a concern of mine, because I'm seeing a great increase of that in the body of Christ among believers. And the Lord began to show me the plan of attack that the enemy is doing, because you got to understand, you have lived godly and righteous all your life. People have seen you live this life. They've seen God even work miracles. Right. And then for you to get in your old age and to lose your mind. Yeah. Come on. That's an attack against everything that you have done. Yeah. And what the people do, they don't remember the good. But what they do is remember the latter and what has happened to this person. Which causes many times those that are even in their family to look at God with contempt. Because here they're seeing someone that served God all their life and lived godly and holy, and now they see this person in this deteriorating state. Wow. Their mind is deteriorated. Why do you think the enemy attacked their mind? Because you got to understand that we preach and we teach that Jesus brings peace. Yeah. So the enemy comes to attack the witness of the person, so that they are not remembered for the good they done. Yes. But only for what they think God did to the person. Oh God. So God began to deal with me. I know people get upset with it, but I'm a firm believer in divine healing. And I've seen it. I've warred for people's minds to come back from dementia. I warred for their minds. Some did come back, some didn't. But that's not my responsibility. Right. But when God began to deal with me about the different ones that I dealt with, he began to show me some other things that were not visible to the naked eye. Come on, man. Because some of them were dealing with some unforgiveness that they never let go. And he began to show me that with some of this, it's a spiritual thing. Yes. That was never really handled. And the enemy waits to the opportunity that when you're weakened, to try to come in and attack. And the first thing he attacks is our mind. Because if he can control your mind, he can control you. There's no way in the world. I told somebody, what glory do God get out of you living saved, sanctified, holy, righteous, and bringing people, and then at the end allow you to be made a mockery of? Oh, God. There's no glory in that. No glory at all. And so I believe in what God showed me, that it's an attack of the enemy upon the body of Christ right now concerning dementia and cancer. Yeah. He said, because with cancer, most people, if they're not careful, they leave out in agony, pain, screaming and hollering, because cancer is painful. Yeah. Oh God. And he said they leave out sometimes as addicted to drugs and different things. Y'all looking at me crazy. Yeah. So he began to deal with me, and he began to say, this too much stuff is creeping into the body of Christ, because we don't have enough people that will get out of their own flesh. Yeah. And begin to really seek God as to what is happening spiritually among the believers. We're having too many untimely deaths. Some watchman person who's going to die, be them saved or unsaved. Because unsaved, he wants you to give them a chance to get their life together.
That's right. That's right.
And so the Lord began to show me something, because you had to understand that before he can even make Ezekiel a watchman, he had to purify Ezekiel.
Amen. Amen.
One requirement is purification if you're going to be a watchman.
That's right.
Because you have to have the ability, oh God, to not have anything in your heart even against people. Because as a watchman, you don't get to pick and choose who God tells you to warn. So if he tells you to warn one of your enemies, that heart ain't right. You might not warn them because you want to see them dead anyway.
Wow.
So God began to deal with it. He said the first thing I did with Ezekiel in that first chapter was I began to show Ezekiel who I am. I began to give him an understanding even of what he needed to understand about the earth realm. That's why the earth realm. He gave him an understanding about the earth realm because he showed him the earth realm. He showed him the water kingdom.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on. He showed him the animal kingdom.
Yeah.
He showed him man. Oh God.
Yeah.
Come on. And he showed him the kingdom of the birds. He began to show him the master's tree of who he is.
Yeah.
And he wanted him to understand that he was in control of everything.
Yeah.
Everything on the earth.
Amen.
He was trying to show Ezekiel his authority.
Yeah.
That he had authority. He was showing Ezekiel his authority. Not Ezekiel's authority, but God's authority. He was showing him that. He was showing him the different things. He was showing him who God is. He was showing him where he lay because he saw the throne. Mm-hmm. He saw all of that. Yeah. He saw the firmaments. He saw that. He saw the colors. And I'm going to teach on colors one day because colors are very important in the kingdom. The rainbow is important to us. Amen. This is why the enemy is trying to pervert it. That's right. Yep. Because the colors represent things. Yes. A lot of times, even when I pray for people, even for healing, I see certain colors. I see the color green a lot. Color blue a lot. When I'm praying for people in healing. Sometimes we're in services and we'll see like lightning, but it's colors going forth. And we have to have an understanding of that because it shows things and it gives him an understanding. He began to see the movement and the power of God because he began to see him as a wheel in the middle of a wheel. And sometimes we have quoted that, but we didn't even have understanding what it was saying. Come on. Hallelujah. We didn't even understand what was going on, what was happening. And he began to see the stones, different things. He saw things. Everything about God's kingdom represents something. Yeah. There's a significance to the stones. Why he had certain stones put even in the priest's garments. Yeah. Remember, Satan, when he was in heaven, he was Lucifer. Remember that he had all the stones and stuff in him. Remember that. Remember. Yeah. He had all of them. He had the precious. If you read the description, the Bible said he had every precious stone. Yeah. And so we have to understand that these things have significance. When God even set things in motion, even to the point to when he told Solomon even how to build the temple. He told him what to put in it, what kind of wood. Even when it came to Noah making the ark, y'all ain't saying nothing. He told him what wood to do, whatever. They all represent something. All right. It's spiritually. And I know a lot of times people look at me and they say, you always find something spiritual. I said, because the spiritual and the natural spiritual, they go together. You got to understand that. You got to understand that. I said, so I see the spiritual aspects of things before I see a natural.
That's right.
Because when God begins to really train you as a watchman, he begins to retrain how you think and digest stuff. Because from the beginning, we'll think naturally first before we even think spiritually.
Yes, ma'am.
But when God begins to train you to walk in the spirit, then your thought pattern changes, because you automatically begin to look at things and the concept of things spiritually more than naturally. And this is what he's trying to do right now in the body of Christ. He's trying to change our concept of things so that we can stop jumping up and getting. That's why we get offended by things. Because we look at it in the natural first before we look at it in the spirit. And we don't look at it that maybe this person attacked you because God said there's something in you that you need to be perfected. Sometimes we try to say it's the devil, but then it's doing those attacks many times that what in us begins to show up. So we need some watchmen that know how to let us know what is happening to us spiritually. And this is what's not happening in the body of Christ. We got people preaching, but they're not telling us what's happening spiritually.
That's right.
Help us, God.
They're looking at everything. This is 2018 going to be our year. This. What is going to happen spiritually for us? Don't tell me about the natural and leave out the spiritual part of what God is going to do for me in the coming years. The next 3 years are going to be very important. I keep telling people that. God told me 2018, 19, and 20. He said that people better have a mindset to want to be with him. This is the hour you got to want to be with him. Hallelujah. Right. Look at somebody and tell them you got to be with him.
You got to be with him.
So the first thing he begins to do, he begins to show Ezekiel in the first chapter who he is. Everything about him. He begins to give him an analogy of who he is. He said, this is me. This is all of me right here, Ezekiel. I want you to understand who I am. I want you to understand that there are some things you're going to see in the spirit that's going to look real strange, and it ain't the devil.
All right now.
Because I'm telling you, in our first reaction, if we would have saw them living creatures, the first thing in the natural mind, you'd be like, oh, that's the devil. It's a demon. We've been...
Right. That's true.
And then when we tell the dream, we'll tell it in a negative way. Because we see this and we just assume this got to be a demon, because God can't look like the angels, can't look like that, because we have had an image that we see these little beautiful things.
You're right. You're right.
Y'all looking at me strange.
Come on.
Y'all looking at me real strange. We look at it and we say this is a little beautiful thing. But when he saw the angels, he saw them as some ugly creatures.
That's right.
Y'all looking at me crazy. So we got to begin to retrain our mind to think spiritually and let God give us understanding before we start rebuking stuff.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
So he saw it. He saw fire. Most of the time when people see fire, their analogy is, something bad. God about to burn something up. But he said fire is with God. Have y'all ever been in I remember one time this woman captured a picture in a service we had, and the woman of God was praising God, and they had given her a death sentence. But when the picture came out, you could see the fire sitting on her back. And she got healed.
Hallelujah, Jesus.
So when fire show up, it's not always showing up because somebody needs something purified in them.
Come on.
Come on. Because the fire of God comes to do what needs to be done. It's a manifestation of him.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh God. So Ezekiel saw some things in that first chapter. He began to see the 4 living creatures. He saw them. First, when he first sees anything, he sees a whirlwind. In that 4th chapter, in the fourth verse, he sees a whirlwind, a cloud, and a fire, and a brightness. And then he describes the color of amber. So he sees a whirlwind, a cloud, and a fire, and color.
Right.
Those are the first four things he sees as he goes into the vision. Oh, God.
Come on, Lord.
And then out of that, the Bible said, comes the four living creatures with this appearance that probably scared him if he didn't understand. You understand what I'm saying? This is why, people of God, you got to get to a place to where you can be able to see God's glory.
Yes. Yes.
You cannot understand it if you don't never see it.
Yeah. Help us, God.
Jesus. And people are really saying that I'm seeing the glory, I'm seeing the power of God, but yet they're not experiencing what I've seen the others in the Bible experience when the glory comes up, when the glory comes in. I was telling them on last night, I said that cloud keep rolling in from on this side. It's a thick cloud that'll come in. I don't know if y'all see it. I said, yeah. They were saying last night, I'm going to sit on that side tonight. Because the glory is coming in from this side. The last 2 nights of the revival, it comes in from that direction.
Amen.
Y'all looking at me strange.
Come on,
Continue to sit on this.
Huh? And so somebody was answering because they was on this side. Well, did it roll over? I said, sometime it did and sometime it didn't.
Amen, Jesus.
I said, that's probably why you miss seeing the manifestation of the rain and different stuff that was falling. Because it didn't make it to your side.
Oh, God. Oh.
Come on. And then we got to understand that everybody have not fine-tuned their spiritual senses to even see in the spirit realm.
Yeah.
And this is why even in services, you'll see some that see and some that don't. Because some, their spiritual eyes have not been trained to see anything spiritually. And so we're having people that don't believe there's been a visitation because they didn't get to see it.
Right.
So I begin to tell them, I said, this is why it's important right now as God pull you into seasons of consecration that you go into the consecrations. And consecration doesn't mean that you shut down, don't eat for 40 days. It's a lifestyle of living holy and righteous before the Lord. That's what people don't understand consecration really means. It means I live a lifestyle that's patterned after the word and the ways of God.
Yes, ma'am.
So consecration is not a set season of a set time of fasting.
That's right. That's right.
Teach.
Come on.
It is an eternal thing.
Yes.
This is a thing that becomes part of your lifestyle. We're supposed to be consecrated at all times.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh? Hallelujah. So we're supposed to live a lifestyle of consecration where we are set apart.
Yes.
To the Lord, which means that in the course of it, and this is what I tell people, the closer you get to God, the more in depth you get in the relationship with God, the less of the things of the world you want to impartate with.
Come on now.
That's right.
You know, you find yourself, somebody told me, say, why you got a TV even in your house?
Come on.
And then they said, and then when you cut it on, you looking at what that channel where they redo the houses, HDTV. Yeah, they said you got it on there. I said, because I'm trying to learn how to flip houses right now. That's what I'm trying to learn how to do right now. So I'm trying to see some stuff. I said, I'm trying to learn some things so I can know how to flip these houses. I'm getting ready to flip. Come on. Hallelujah. I said, some of them I got to get sold to people, but I got to flip some houses so I can keep on flipping. You understand what I'm saying? Hallelujah. So he begins to see these things. And then he sees the creatures that will sometimes frighten folks. Come on. And then that's when the Lord began to tell me. He said, you got to look at it. He said, when they begin to see visions of me, it wasn't these pretty things that they have painted on these pictures.
Come on now.
Come on.
Yeah.
Beautiful things like they were seeing. Ezekiel saw a creature
That's right.
with 4 faces.
4 faces.
And then he saw this face with nothing but eyes.
Come on.
All in it. Now you know the first thing we would have did, we would have analyzed that. Oh, that's people trying to look in my life.
So true.
So the Lord began to tell me. He said many of the people have interpreted their dreams wrong. Because they thought they were seeing demons when they were seeing an illustration of something concerning me. And he said when they gave the interpretation as they know it, because they looked at it in the natural rather than in the spirit. And this is why I tell people I take my time about releasing a dream. Because I need God to analyze it for me. The Spirit of the Lord. Because, and this is why I told you earlier, he told me to don't get caught up in the imagery of what I see. Because the imagery can give me a deceptive interpretation.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is why you got to interpret by the Spirit of God. Oh God. Oh God. This is why we've had people prophesy false things that didn't come to pass. Because when they saw it, they looked at it in the natural. Rather than, this is why I tell people that even walk as prophets or God used to prophesy. I said, let the Spirit digest what you're hearing before you speak it.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes I'll hear things and for a minute I won't say nothing.
Yeah.
Because the Spirit got to digest it and revelate it before it come out of my mouth. Because he can show me something about somebody, and if I speak sometimes from what I see, if I would speak like that, then I will give people a false interpretation of what God is showing me. So you got to be able to understand that even, this is for the prophets, even as a prophet, you just can't burn it out.
Teach.
Amen.
You teach.
Amen.
You got to allow the Spirit to digest and give you understanding and revelation before you release it out of your mouth.
That's right.
That's why as a prophet, we are slow to speak.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, even when we're prophesying, God will give us something, a vision or something. He will give us a vision or something of the people. And we have to be able to understand the vision that he's showing us. Take, for instance, if he showed me you in a cage. Well, automatically in my mind, at the beginning, I would think that you're in bondage.
Yeah.
But then God is showing me not that you're in bondage, but he's showing me that he has you.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Thank you.
Locked.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Because you got to be able to digest. You got to be able to be revelated as to what he's showing you. Because from my mindset, seeing it in that way, I would have automatically said, you in bondage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had to wait on the Lord. Oh, y'all ain't saying nothing. Had to wait on the Lord to give me the interpretation of what he's showing me. Because the imagery sometimes can fool you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it can.
And so that's why he told me you can't get caught up in the imagery. You got to get caught. You got to catch the revelation of what I'm trying to say.
That's good.
Oh God. So when Ezekiel sees this, he doesn't get bent out of shape. Because he's a man that understands God.
Yes. Yes.
See, until we get an understanding of the Lord, until we get an understanding of Yahweh, we're not going to understand a whole lot of what we see.
Oh God.
Help us, Jesus. Help us, Lord.
Because looking at it, like I said, the first thing we will do is come out of it going into warfare.
Yeah.
Some demon trying to come in my dream.
You're right.
God, the enemy sent a vision. And so the Lord began to tell me, he said, the reason why the people are not getting the proper words to help them be spiritually ready ready for what's getting ready to happen is because the watchmen are seeing from only the natural and carnal standpoint.
Help us, Lord.
Because they taking you into these schools, but they ain't training you spiritually.
Yeah.
All they doing is cultivating your gift.
Yeah.
That's right.
But they're not teaching you to turn your senses into a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
What I see, what I hear, what I taste, what I touch. Come on. You got to he begins to retrain even your natural senses so that your natural senses can begin to digest things spiritually. And so now, right now in the body of Christ, there's a lot of reteaching that's going on.
Yeah.
That the people are rejecting because they don't want to really know how to operate in the spirit. They just want to know how to operate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
And so they don't want to learn that you got to operate your gift from a spiritual standpoint.
That's right.
I just want to be able to do what I do because I want people to see I'm mighty and strong.
Yeah.
I want people to just see me. So here is Ezekiel. The first thing God does is shows Ezekiel himself.
Yeah.
I need you to understand all of me in a certain limited aspect so that you can understand who I am. That I'm not the images that man makes me to be.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not the images. My angels don't always look pretty.
Come on.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
First off, if I see a cherub, they said they had a hand and feet, wings, and
Yeah.
many,
Yeah.
many wings. And we running around here
Ah.
looking for these little cute things.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Showing up beautiful. Huh? We run around looking for that instead of putting our mind on spiritually. This is why the Bible said, so you be careful with that. He said even Satan shows up
Come on, ma'am.
as an angel of light.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
the word.
That's right.
So if you look at it in beauty, you're going to get messed up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because Satan can present himself in a beautiful way
Yeah.
to try to deceive you.
Yeah.
Oh God. So he begins to see. He sees all that. He sees the likeness. He sees the faces. Then he sees burning coals of fire that look like lamps.
Yeah.
And the living creatures in there. Like I said, he saw the fire. And then he saw lightning. Come on. And he said the living creatures ran and returned at the appearance of a flash of lightning. This is why sometime in the services, you'll see the creatures are there. One thing you're going to have to understand, because the cherubims, they're in the presence of the Lord. So if they show up, God is already there. Because they go with the presence of the Lord.
That's right.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Good
God.
teaching.
Come on. Because they hang around that throne room. You understand what I'm saying? They where he at.
Yeah.
Come on. So when he shows up. And so this is why sometimes even in the service, you'll see flashes of light. And then, because look what it says. They ran like a flash of light. Moving quickly. Huh? You know why? Because God doesn't want us to worship the angels.
Come on, Lord. Yes, that's right.
That's good teaching.
So they move quickly so that you won't get caught up and begin to worship them.
Yeah.
Remember when the angels came and Abraham went to fall and they said, no, get up.
And Peter did too. Come on.
Peter, he told him, get up.
Yeah.
Don't worship us. Come on. And if the angels have enough sense to know you better not worship us, why is it man let man worship them?
Oh, God.
Come on. Huh? We the only ones that want somebody to worship us.
Yeah.
Even the angels know that the glory only belongs to God.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. And so he begins to show him all that. He shows Ezekiel all this. Oh, my God. Look at somebody and tell them you got to know what you're looking at when you're having these visions.
Looking at me.
Whew. He begins to see. He begins to see the firmaments. Come on. He saw sapphire stone and a throne and the appearance of what seems to be a man upon it. Then he said, I saw amber and the appearance of fire round about it, from the appearance of his loins even upward, from even his loins even downward. I saw what appears like fire and a brightness. He never did really see him.
That's right.
But he saw images. Yeah. Come on. And then he turns around and said, and I saw the appearance of the bow that is in the clouds in the day of rain.
Come on now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
He said, I saw the bow. I saw the promise of God. I saw the covenant of God. And he said, this was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at somebody and tell them, you got to know when the glory really show up.
That's right. Amen. You gotta know.
Because when the glory show up, you're going to see unusual things.
Yeah.
Things that will have you scratching your head, trying to wonder, am I seeing right? Oh God. Oh God. It's still a mess for everybody to be. And this is why the Lord begins to say, you got to get to a place now to where your flesh becomes broken. Your eyesight spiritually got to get clear. Because if you don't start walking in the spirit, you're going to make wrong assumptions. And you're going to begin to war against things that are me.
Yeah.
And accept things that are not me.
Oh God.
Yes.
Teach us.
Yes.
Because the enemy works with our ignorance.
Yeah.
Oh God. What we don't know, he'll work with. Now, after he begins to show him, after he shows him everything, he shows him all this, then guess what he does next? Then he gives him his assignment.
Yes, yeah.
In chapter 2. Then he tells him, I told somebody this. I said, have you noticed anytime in the word when he got ready to speak to the people, he made them stand up?
Amen.
Y'all ain't never read that?
Yes,
as you read it?
Yes, ma'am. Get up.
He talked more while you're standing up. Uh-oh. When he's ready to speak, he tells them to stand on your feet. And so I would wonder, when I first came into the real knowledge, why when in portions of prayer, the Lord would tell me to get up and walk. And then he would speak until I started really studying this word. And I said, wait. When he got ready to speak to them, he made them stand up. He wanted them alert.
Amen.
At full attention. So you won't be laying down there half asleep. And I saw it. I said, he told them to stand up. He said, stand up. Get on your feet. Yeah. This ain't no time for you to be laying down. I need to talk to you. Oh God. And then he would tell them, and he would set them on their feet. And then he gives him his assignment. Yeah. And tells him he's going to send him to a rebellious nation.
Right.
That have rebelled against me. They and their fathers have transgressed against me, even unto this day. That's Ezekiel 2 and 3. Yeah. Then he begins to give him his assignment after he tells him who he is. Yeah. Because Ezekiel had to have an understanding of who God is and an understanding of the authority and everything concerning God, yeah, in order for him to be able to execute this assignment. All right, yeah. Because God tells him, I'm giving you an assignment that's going to be impossible. Come on. But you got to go to a people that's going to reject like he did Jeremiah. I'm sending you. You know what? When I noticed, he didn't really send them prophets to places that really received them.
Amen.
Real prophets wasn't sent to where they were celebrating.
That's right.
He would send them to places where the people were rebellious against God, didn't want to hear the truth. Come on now. Hallelujah. Remember they told Jeremiah, if you say anything else, we're going to kill you.
Yeah.
You can speak, but don't speak in the name of the Lord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the same thing they're doing right now to the prophets. They're saying you can say what you want to say, but you better not say nothing about no judgment.
Come on now. You right.
You better not say nothing that's going to cause us any distress. We don't want to hear you unless you're telling us we're going to be blessed.
Right. Right.
So he begins to give him his assignment. He tells him, I'm getting ready to send you to people that's rebellious, they stiff-necked. This is a nation that don't even like me. But they're my people. So he tells him that. Then he tells him, you got to say what I got to say, whether they hear or whether they don't.
Got to see it.
And this is what we get in trouble, especially those that walk as prophets among the people. Because we don't want to say nothing and we don't think people are going to receive it.
That's right.
Anytime you're controlled by the crowd, you're not God's prophet. Because God's prophets are only controlled by him.
Yeah.
Oh God. Sometimes people get caught up in what they can get rather than obedience to the Lord. It's the hour now. So he begins to tell him. He shows him who he is. So he gives him his assignment so he won't be afraid. He wants him to know who you are working for, Ezekiel.
Yeah.
So when I tell you your assignment, it won't cause fear in you. So he tells him. He begins to tell him again, don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of their words. Yeah. He said, you even dwell among scorpions.
Yes, ma'am.
God will send you to a people that want to hurt you. Uh-oh. That's why many times, even when it comes to you being sent to a region, you cannot say God didn't send you just because you got opposition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Because if you're a true prophet of God, true apostle, true, when you go, the opposition of the city is already set in place against you. Because Satan knows you're getting ready to come.
Yeah.
Come on. You can rest assured, even if the people don't know who you are, the devil do.
Yeah.
Even if the people don't recognize you, Satan does.
Yeah.
And this is why we cannot get caught up in the opposition that comes against us when we have an assignment. Uh-oh. He said they most rebellious, so they might hear, they might not, but you still got to do what I said. So he first shows him in the first chapter. Then he gives him a bad assignment. He gives him an assignment that almost says to him from the beginning, it's not going to really be successful, but you got to do it. So because you go somewhere and don't see a lot of success, still don't mean God didn't send you.
That's correct.
Yeah. That's good.
It still don't mean God didn't send you. It still doesn't mean. It doesn't mean that God didn't send you just because you don't see 50,000 members.
Come on now. You teaching.
Come on. Because you got to understand, his assignment was to people that were rebellious and was going to fight. So you got to understand. So I'm talking about the watchman. I'm trying to get the watchman ready, y'all. And so he first shows him. You got to learn God before you even get your assignment.
That's correct.
How is it you want an assignment before you know him? How you going to work for a boss you don't even understand the vision of the company that you're working for?
Amen. Yes. Mission
So he really, that's what he gave him, the mission statement of the glory.
Yeah.
This is the mission statement of the glory in Ezekiel 1. This is what you're going to encounter. This is what's going to happen. This is what's going to show up where you go. But in the course of it, know that the people I'm sending you to are going to reject the glory. And so he tells him this. And then guess what he does next? He tells him to open your mouth and eat what I'm getting ready to give you. So then he begins to pour into Ezekiel what he's going to need in order to be effective as a watchman in the house of God. So he hands him a roll of a book, and he spread it before him, and it was written within and without. And look what it said. And there was written therein lamentations and warning and woe. Listen, he gives him his mandate. This is what you're going to be doing. So I'm going to pour into you what you're going to be doing, which was going to be a whole lot of lamentation, a whole lot of mourning, and a whole lot of woe. And if you read Ezekiel, that's what his book is about.
That's right.
So he lets you see him, get to know him, learn him. This is why you need isolation and times of purification and getting yourself together so that you can learn the Lord. Then he gives you your assignment.
Oh, God.
And then he gives you your assignment. He gives you your assignment before he gives you the mandate.
You teach it about it.
Before he gives you the authority and the anointing to go with it.
Oh, that's good.
So, the anointing and the authority of God does not come up on you until after you did these two things. Learn him, get your assignment, and then eat.
That's good.
And then you're going to get your authority and your anointing.
Oh, that's good teaching.
And so, the third chapter, he tells him, eat. Look at somebody and tell them it's time to eat.
It's time to eat.
He said, you eat this roll and then go and speak. In other words, you can't speak, Ezekiel, until I put what needs to be spoken in
right.
you.
That's good.
Right.
That's good.
So if the person has not spent time with God, has not reformed the relationship with God, has not gotten to know God, and does not understand their assignment, how can they speak on his behalf?
That's right.
Help God.
How can you speak for him
Yeah.
when you don't know none of the rest?
Help us, God.
So we have people now, they're saying they're watchmen and don't even have a relationship with God.
Yes, Lord.
So if you don't know God, how are you going to recognize when he's speaking? Because remember, if you don't know the word, Satan knows how to manipulate the word. That's how he messed up Eve.
Yes.
Because he gave her a part of the truth.
Yeah.
He switched two or three little words. He switched up
Yeah.
and changed the whole meaning of what God said.
That's
That's
right.
right.
So we got to get to a place. We got to get to know God. Understand his glory. Understand the realms of God, the dimensions of God. Look at somebody and tell them you got to understand the dimensions of God.
You gotta
Understand the dimensions of God.
Oh, that's good.
We have too many people that don't understand the dimensions of God's glory. Sometimes you have people that have had a beginning stage experience of God, and they ready to go get the whole global ministry.
Oh, God.
When they ain't got but a little bit, partial, little tiny bit.
That's all.
Kindergarten visions, that's what I call them. Kindergarten visions, where you start off with a little bit of stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And notice, even when he gave Ezekiel his assignment, he didn't show Ezekiel as anything great. He didn't say, you getting ready to go around the world. That wasn't part of it. He said, this is what you need to be focused on. Not that the fact you're going to be traveling and preaching on television or anything like that. He didn't put that in part of the description. He said, you're going to a rebellious nation. These people going to try to kill you.
Yes.
Wow.
Woo. So he tells him to eat the roll. And the Bible said he opens his mouth and eat it. And he said, fill your bowels with this roll. And when he ate, he said, it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. See, when you come into agreement with what God has given you to do, it's not bitter.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not bitter. You might experience some bitter things, but what God has given you is not bitter to you. So he does that. He fills him up, and then now he tells him, Son of man, in the 4th verse in 3, get thee into the house of Israel and speak my words unto them. Come on. He said, I'm telling you, I'm getting ready to send you to some people. They got a strange speech. He said, and then he tells them, I'm going to surely send you to them, but they will not hearken. Come on. So then he turns around after he gives him an assignment, after he gives him everything. Then he turns around and again he lets him know that you cannot be afraid of the people.
That's right.
And this is why we got to get an understanding of God. This is why we got to get an understanding of who he is. So that when we go on our assignments that the Lord give us, we won't collapse from the warfare of it.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
Because we'll recognize that he is with us and who he is. So if I know who he is and I know he's a conqueror of everything on the earth because he made everything, come on, then when I go to the people and they don't want to receive me, it does not diminish me from completing my assignment.
All right.
I don't abort what I understand.
Amen. Amen.
And the reason why people abort their assignments is because they don't have an understanding of who's with them. Because if you know that if God is with you, you're not afraid to stand against anything. And so it doesn't matter. This is why you can go into services and the people don't want to receive you and you can still deliver the word.
Yes. That's right.
And not be affected by the faces of the people and how they sit there and look deep and wonderful sometimes like they're trying to psychoanalyze you.
Come on now.
And you preaching what God has given you. Because when God gives it to you, like he said, whether they hear or don't hear, that's not your problem. Because I'm with you and I've given you this assignment. You can go on and complete the assignment and let me handle the ones that rebel against it.
Yes.
So he said, I'll make your forehead hard. Oh God. He said, I'll make your face strong against their faces, which means that you're not going to flinch at the looks of the people.
Come on.
Because you know, sometimes folks can look at you really bad while you up.
Come on.
You know, looking at you like you better not say nothing. You know. They can look at you probably mighty bad while you up trying to teach, especially if you're teaching something that they need correction in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They give you them intimidating looks.
Yes.
You know, they look deep. You know, they're sitting in the seat looking deep, all undereyed at you and everything, not moving, looking at you real crazy. You know what I'm saying? What they're trying to do is intimidate you and confuse you so that you won't complete the assignment that's in your mouth. Look at somebody and tell them the assignment is in your mouth.
The assignment is in your mouth.
And so he does it. So as a watchman, you have to go through certain processes in order to be effective for God. Most of them don't make it past that first chapter process.
All right.
Most of them don't make it past that. Because in order for you to have that kind of experience, you have to have had some kind of levels of consecration.
Right. Amen.
God is going to come visit you when you give him a place for visitation.
All right.
And most of the people have not consecrated themselves.